Hey everyone, Jay Sherm here. In today's episode, I have Swire Ho with me. He's a director of sales and marketing for Garuda Promo. Welcome to the show, Swire.
How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. And speaking of being pretty good, we're going to be talking about how to create more work-life balance for busy entrepreneurs, business owners. And I want to first, before we jump into that, what made you become interested in the wellness sector of being an entrepreneur? Like, what was the first moment you realized it was important?
I always loved fitness since back when I was a kid in high school. I always kept staying physically fit and strong. And I think, don't need to tell everyone why we need that, for the past 2 years, we have been locked at home. And a lot of us actually having a lot of unhealthy habit, and some of us do get put on a little bit more weight. So I think by keeping at that, that's how I'm staying fit and motivated for my work.
Yeah, a lot of listeners of my show have heard me say this many times, especially during the pandemic, that I have a pretty regular routine that involves yoga in the morning, meditation in the evenings, exercise in the afternoons, and a couple of walks every single day outdoors. And that's pretty much what my regimen is to keep my mind clear, to keep my body fit. What other types of things do you recommend besides those?
I love what you're doing, and I do that myself also. Sometimes if I know that I'm going on a longer phone conversation, I'll actually pace myself, walk around using a headset. So I think that's actually it's a better flow of clearing your mind and be more creative sometimes. I would suggest the listener to try that sometime.
So yeah, a lot of times if I'm answering the phone, I always jump on the headset and I start walking around the room, or I go outside for a walk. So a lot of people like to sit at desks, but you're saying it's better to walk when you're taking calls. What about video calls if you're doing Zoom? I guess you can't really do that, right? So unless you're on the phone, but then you can kind of see where you are and all that stuff, right?
Well, I actually have a stand-up desk. Right now I'm sitting, right, talking to you, but I don't want to mess up all my cables now. I can actually raise my desk. So I would encourage anyone to, look into a stand-up desk. There are desks that, can put onto your regular desk and just stand up. Or if you invest into buying a new desk, it's very nice to stand up and sit down once in a while. Change your position.
I'm trying something here while we're on the podcast. Hopefully you can see what's going on. My desk is going up because this is also a standing desk, although my cables are all kind of underneath, but now I am completely standing up. So yeah, I agree. You need a standing desk to stay, you don't want to be sitting. They say sitting is the new cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. I think, having a standing desk, people that are listening can't see this, but if you're on YouTube and you're watching me, you can see that I just stood up and down with my desk. That's a great tip. Get a standing desk, right? So let's talk a little bit about exercise. You mentioned that you're a certified kettlebell instructor with Strong First. Take me through that. What got you into that?
I actually listened to Tim Ferriss' podcast, and I discovered Pavel Tsatsouline. He's the chairman of Strong First. So I was very intrigued by their conversation. So I decided to purchase my first kettlebell. That was about 5 years ago. So I kept doing that almost every day. And since the pandemic, the gym is closed, I'm actually more focused on the kettlebell training now because that's, the only tools that I have. I like lifting weights.
Yeah. And, it's funny that you said that, because when the pandemic started and I wasn't able to go to the gym anymore, it was kind of a bummer. But a good friend of mine, he came over and he brought me all these resistance bands. And he said, listen, man, I'm going to show you how to use these resistance bands the right way. And you really don't have to go to the gym. You can just use these forever. And I started using them. It's been 2 years now. I used them this morning. I use them all the time. And it really does give me a workout like I'm at the gym. So I think people that say they want to go to the gym is because of the social aspect. But now with the pandemic, I mean, how much social kind of, can you get? So do you recommend people just working out at home?
It depends. Some people are more motivated because you're paying for your membership, and they do have more equipment than what we can normally buy at home. But then if you think that I just wanted to stay fit, you don't need to have a gym membership to do that. For example, if you are just doing push-ups, pull-up, and then do body weight squat, that could be good to start if you haven't been staying fit lately. So what I have is I have a pull-up bar right at the door of my office. So whenever that I go out to get water and whatever that I'm doing, sometimes I do one pull-up, just one. Whenever you walk through the door or whenever you get to the fridge, right? You do 5 push-ups. So you do that throughout your day. The thing is not to burn yourself out. No, I'm going to go in today. My goal is to 50 push-ups right now. So not that. But what if let's say you can do 10 push-ups, right? So you do less than 30% of what you can do at your maximum. And you do that throughout your day. And then if you do, let's say 3 push-ups every day, then you're doing 15. So you're actually doing more than your max per day. And the goal is to do it do it daily.
That's a great point, because you mentioned at the gym you get a lot more equipment. And I remember when I used to go to the gym, I would use like 15 different machines. But again, I'm not noticing a huge difference from using the resistance bands I have, because you can utilize them in so many different ways that you're really working all different muscle groups. So I guess maybe, like you said, it motivates people because they're paying for it. But I like your idea of incorporating simple exercises with getting up to go get a drink or something to eat. Speaking of, people should be drinking water, tea, coffee all day long. That's what I do. It's mostly tea and water. So what do you think about that and the diet aspect of health and wellness too?
I think keeping a journal is definitely help. So for example, you want to do 15, right? So you're doing 3 each time. So you want to write it down, make sure that you hit your goal. Or like you said, if you're drinking water, do you measure your cup, right? Maybe use a Nalgene bottle. So then you put it down, measure, make sure that you fit within your goal. Sometimes you get busy, you get carried away with work, but then you still wanted to get the intake that you plan to have. And having a journal with exercise and with your wellness, then it will keep you in check. And if you say, I don't feel so well today, so what did I do yesterday? So you can check, I didn't drink enough water, or I sat all day, or I got carried away with work, so I didn't move around. So then what a good pattern that works for you. And the goal is not to do everything in one day, is to do it consistent every single day.
That's a great idea, to keep track of your mood and your well-being compared to what you did the day before. It's not a bad idea. What did I do yesterday? Why do I feel so groggy today? Oh, I didn't drink enough water. Damn it. So I'm going to drink more water today. So let's talk about how you get to the point where you don't feel so great and you want to get out of it. And, this is now going into your expertise of sales and marketing. If you're an entrepreneur and you have a new idea and you want to market to your audience, just give me 3 tips how a new entrepreneur listening can get customers for their business.
I think it's just the same of what we just talked about. You want to set a goal. So you want to set goal in fitness. And when you wanted to reach out to your target audience, do you set the goal that you're achievable? The key, again, is not to reach to your target in the first day. Just like when you're working out, when you haven't been active for a long time, you have to stay consistently, maybe for 2 months. When you have a new target market that you wanted to reach out to, you can reach them in one day. If you can't, that means you're lucky, or you set your bar too high. If you have a reachable goal, if you work on it consistently and you have to do your planning, do your own journal equivalent to our fitness, then you're on the way to your goal. And if you reach your goal earlier, that's great. Adjust and then reevaluate what you have done.
Good job. So, it's a lot like health and wellness. It doesn't take one day to get things done. It takes time to get things done. And so reaching out to your market. And tell me something else about onboarding a customer. A lot of people may or may not know exactly what to do when they start getting customers coming to their website. How do you deal with an influx of your audience? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you reach out to them? How do you talk to them? How do you tell them what your message is? And how do you engage your customers?
That's a great question. And think about that. when we try to acquire a new client, we spend a lot of money for buying ads, hiring different agency. But once they purchase from you, be honest to yourself, how much money and effort do you spend on retaining those clients? Some of us will be zero, right? We don't spend any effort, any money to acquire them. But then these are your gold mines. If you're creating a custom onboarding experience, so when they are on, let's say you finish doing the project for them and also deliver a product, for example, someone needs to contact them to make sure that the experience is met by their standard, not yours, and then listen to the feedback. And if they know that they're really happy or satisfied with what you have, there are a lot of ways you can do. For example, all the online review website, you can ask them for a simple review, make it easy for them, send them the link, or then is the best time to ask for more introduction. Do you know there are any family members, colleagues that can use our product and services? Would you mind to share a few names that I can reach out to? Those are the best time to get, not 6 months later, not 9 months later. They probably forgot who you are. So it is a planning process. It needs to, you need to plan for it. And when a phone call doesn't cost you anything, right? You can get more referral, more introduction that way.
That's a good idea to tell the clients that you get or customers you get to give you some word of mouth referrals, which is always the best kind of recommendation to hire you, right? And you mentioned something else that I liked, and I want to kind of dive into something for a second. So let's say you have a customer or a client, and they are not following health and wellness techniques, and they are miserable, and they're making you miserable, and they are not reasonable. They are not listening to you. They hired you for a reason, and they are not listening to you for that reason. And you can tell they're stressed out and depressed. And so what do you do in this case? What do you do?
That's a difficult question. If you want, you could try to be helpful, but then some people that I talk to, they don't want to be helped. Sometimes you get into like a toxic relationship. So what you can encourage, you could lead and show them example. I like to walk people through a third-party example using other success story that I might heard of, or maybe point them to articles that are relate to the similar situation. So it's not me telling them you have to change. It's those who have changed, this is what happened to them. So hopefully by using a third-party example, I can motivate them to be on the right path.
So don't tell them, here's what I do, here's what I think you should do. It's, look what company XYZ did. It worked really well for the founder. Look, he was able to exit at $100 million after doing this technique or whatnot. It's not a bad idea. So tell us some final tips, words of wisdom, whether it is onboarding customers, marketing to your customers, following health and wellness techniques. What would you tell entrepreneurs listening who want to be the best versions of themselves?
Well, I think onboarding is definitely very important. And you need that because for the past 2 years, people are cutting their budget sometimes. But then if you are their favorite vendor or supplier, then you'll be the last person that they will stay on. But then we have to think about how we need to do to maintain that relationship. The best scenario, I'm using a third-party story now, is to how can you make all your customer to be a mini advocates of your brand. You might not be paying them, but they like you so much. We all have a brand that we like so much that we will tell everyone about that brand. How can you be that company? How can you be that brand so that people will speak on your behalf wherever they go?
That's great. I like that. Having brand ambassadors running around and promoting your product for you. Awesome, Swire. This was great. Where can people find you online and learn more about what you do and possibly work with you?
Thank you, Jason. They can look me up on social media. It's at Swire Ho. I'm also actively on LinkedIn. Look me up. Love to network with everyone. And then our website is GarudaPromo.com.
Awesome. Everyone, check out GarudaPromo.com. Swire Ho, everyone. And again, thanks for coming. And as usual, we will see everybody in next week's episode.